at that!
Hello, welcome to the voiceover. This is weird. So I'm not actually on the bike right now. I'm sat at my laptop with all of my camera gear in front of me, and we're going to go through how I now do the videos. We've got 2 cameras and it's basically just an updated setup video. There's going to be a lot in here that you can take away if you are looking at just getting started, or if you want to upgrade what you've currently got. Hopefully this will be useful to you either way. So obviously I've got some footage playing at the moment of what the current videos look like. I'm really happy with the quality of the videos right now. The fact that this video has been requested should mean that you might find this interesting and you want your videos to look like this, and if you do, then hopefully I can help. So without further ado, let's get started. The first thing and the most valuable thing I think for this whole setup is obviously the helmet cam. You may have seen a switch a couple of months ago where I started using the DJI Osmo Action 4 on my helmet, and honestly, in my opinion, this is the best. Okay, they've just released the Osmo Action 5, so maybe that'll top it, but I don't know. This is the best action camera you can get brand new for your money. So if you're looking at investing in a brand new camera, this is the one I recommend. And when you compare it to like the comparison of GoPro and the Insta 360s that are currently on the market, it is cheaper as well. So that's the camera that I'm running on my helmet cam. Now we're going to talk about how I could use it, or how you could use it just as its own, or how I use it now with my full helmet setup. I think, especially if you're getting new to motovlogging, you want things to be as simple as possible, and it helps if you don't need to audio sync and everything like that. So definitely having a good helmet cam setup so that all the wires are in your helmet and you don't have anything like going down your jacket sleeves, or you don't have to sync things up in editing. It will just make your life a lot easier. So along with the camera, you get the case in the box, and I think you get a battery. I ordered an SD card from the DJI website, so I made sure I had the right one, because obviously it records in very good quality. You need an SD card that will be able to cope with that. Along with that, I also have a collection of ND filters and the rechargeable case for extra batteries. Those aren't essential, but those are things I chose to invest in because I wanted basically the best quality video I could personally make with my limited knowledge. So that involved adjusting some settings and using the ND filters to create a really gorgeous look on some of the daytime footage. You can get about 2 hours of footage with the highest quality I can record with, so that's not bad for one battery. But I've got the case of 3 and it's obviously rechargeable, so it just means that if I'm going out for the day and I want to bulk film, then I can have peace of mind that I can get 6 hours worth of footage. And that is the camera that has got a lot of compliments on the most recent videos as well. I'll also include, I've gone through my settings, so for daytime use, I go into pro mode and I adjust the settings. I've sort of found a happy place with the settings I've been running currently. I did have a even lower frame rate at one point to get even more motion blur, but I'm quite happy at 30 frames per second. I think that creates a really nice look, especially as a lot of my riding, I like to go out into the country, so it gives a lovely blurred look to all the bushes, and it makes you look like you're going a lot faster than 60-70 miles an hour. I'll actually put a comparison of my old GoPro footage compared to this new DJI, and you can see the difference. You can also look back at some of the different videos on the channel to sort of see the progression as well. Obviously at night, so those settings require using an ND filter. I use the 8 pretty much all the time, and at night you can't use the ND filter because it makes your footage even darker, so I just resort it back to auto for nighttime footage. It's still, obviously you don't get the motion blur you do at daytime, but you still get a really decent quality footage. It seems to cope with the dark quite well, which is nice. So to attach the camera to my helmet, I use chin mount. So when I first started motovlogging, I had like a cheap Amazon one that basically just hooked around the chin of the helmet and you could take it off as and when you wanted. That was okay, and obviously it's a cheaper option, but the chin mount, in my opinion, it is much less hassle because you don't need to worry about putting the mount on and off again. It's just consistently stuck on and it's not going to go anywhere, and for that reason it also feels a lot more secure. They're each 3D printed to your model of helmet, so as long as your model is on the website, you're going to be able to get something for it. So I've got the 3D mount attached to the helmet, and then I also bought the little extension, so it's just called the low profile buckle mount. It's like £8, and that allows the camera to sit at a further it like angles further up. I've put like a side view of how the camera angles. I think this is especially important if you're a sport bike rider, because your head is more likely to be angled down. You need to take that into account. Your chin's going to be facing your dash, and you don't want your camera to face your dash. So you want your camera to be angled up. I think it's better if they see more of the road than if your camera's angled too far down and then all you can see are your handlebars. That's no fun for the viewer. So that's just something to be aware of. Make sure, do a little test ride and make sure the angle of the camera is right, because it might not be something you notice straight when you're editing, but someone who's watching your video wants to see where you're going. So that's my pro tip for that. For the mic, I'm currently using the Purple Panda mic, and it's plugged in to the Osmo with its mic adapter, and I remember first setting it at a gain of -6. I've never changed that. It seems to be working pretty well. I've not really sorted out the different settings and tried out which gain is best, but that's just what I've gone for, and it seems to work. I use the little DJI mic adapter plus the extension that comes in with the Purple Panda mic. I had no idea what it was when it first came in the bag, but it is the difference between the camera recognizing the mic and not. So whatever it does, it helps, so use that. That means that when you record with the DJI, the audio is picked up with the Purple Panda mic. I then thread it through my helmet, and it just stays in my helmet all the time. The camera isn't on my helmet all the time. I do go for rides without that on my helmet, but the mic stays in, and it's all tucked away throughout the mesh and the padding of the helmet. Are you going somewhere? So that means that I don't need to sync the audio to that footage. So I import it onto my laptop and onto my hard drive, and I literally just have the video with the audio from the helmet. Bob's your uncle, you know? It's all there, no syncing needed. I don't personally edit the audio to improve it in Premiere Pro. I do have that function, but quite honestly, my laptop would throw the biggest tantrum, so I don't. I could probably make it better, but it's not worth my laptop crashing consistently. That is one thing I will say, because Olivia has recently invested in the DJI as well, and it does require a laptop or a computer that can handle the processing speeds, because it is such high quality footage. If it's a bit of an old laptop or it doesn't have a very good processor, you may struggle. So that could quite easily be the beginner setup, and I'll talk about an alternative audio option in a minute, but you can quite easily have a full wired system in there. You could remove the idea of the ND filters and the extra batteries, so you could just have the camera and your Purple Panda mic and your mic adapter, and you're sorted. You've got a really good high quality video with decent audio, and it's all strapped to your helmet, and there's no wires hanging out your helmet and down your sleeves, and it's not plugged into external phones, anything like that, and you're sorted. You've got a really good chance at starting a motovlogging channel. Now, if you want a 2-camera setup like I'm currently running now, you need obviously a second camera. So we're onto the rider facing camera now. So I have the GoPro Max 360. Honestly, any 360 camera will work. You could even use a non-360 camera. I like the idea of 360 because you can kind of spin it. So when I'm sat at a petrol station and I want to turn it to someone else, I can do, and I don't need to worry about my helmet cam pointing the right way or turning it on the dash. So that being said, I use the GoPro Max 360. I've had this since the very beginning. This is what I was using as a helmet camera prior to getting the DJI. So it records in 360 as well as acting as a standard GoPro, and I use that standard camera on the widest angle setting for those helmet cam videos. So if you go back right to the start of the video, the channel, that's what I was using. So it sits on my windscreen in 360 mode, and I can get a super wide view. So I sort of zoom out so you can see my bars, you can see my mirrors, you can see me, and you can see a decent amount of the background. And it can take in footage from the sides as well if I need to. The downside of 360 cameras is, especially the GoPro one, I haven't properly looked at Insta360 ones. It is quite overpriced, just being honest there. If you're looking at it with no sale or discount, honestly, go for a different 360 camera, because they all do the same thing. They all have a pretty poor battery life, which I'll get into in a minute, and it just is quite overpriced. So if you don't get it in a good sale deal like I did, look for something else. So yeah, as I talked about with the batteries, the downside is the batteries do run out quite quickly and the lenses scuff easily. I know that from first-hand experience because they stick out. You know, they're 360 cameras, they have to be domed in order to take in 360 degrees, and then the software sort of stitches it together. It's a very clever camera. I don't regret having it. It's got me a long way and it gets me some really cool footage, but it is also not the wisest first camera when you can get something like the DJI for much cheaper and the quality is just superb. The quality of the GoPro helmet cam is still decent, you know, it got me to monetization level. But you can see the difference between the GoPro helmet cam and the DJI Osmo helmet cam. I actually think the GoPro's 360 footage is higher quality than its helmet cam footage. Haven't properly checked the specs on it, but that's just personal experience. I think it looks a lot better in 360 mode. It just makes it incredibly hard to edit if you're doing a really long video. I'll talk about that in a minute. The other thing is you can't play around with the settings like you can with the DJI or any other action cam that is just forward facing, because you can't use ND filters. So if you start playing around with settings, you end up with quite weird footage, as I also found out the hard way. See, I'm just making all these mistakes and then you don't have to do them. Just copy me. Now, don't copy those mistakes. Okay, on to recording group intercoms. So obviously we have the solo videos where that setup would work absolutely fine, and I'm recording audio with the Purple Panda mic, or I'm with other people. So for example, me and Katie on the intercom, you can hear both of our voices. My camera isn't picking that up. That is the Cardo Pack Talk.
Recording started!
Where are we going?
I don't know. Fucking knock you out. Scrapping with me.
So the Cardos you see on my helmet, on Katie's helmet, on Olivia's helmet, on my brother's helmet, although we haven't actually filmed a video yet, they're all Pack Talk Neos. They're slightly cheaper than the Pack Talk Bold or the other Pack Talk that's out now, but they have almost all the same features. The only difference is you can't charge them on the go and you get 2 years warranty instead of 3. If you're interested in the Cardos, there's like a grid or something on their website where it breaks down what each one does, and you can kind of find the one that fits in with your lifestyle. The Pack Talks are the ones that allow you to record the intercom, so we knew we had to go for one of those, and the Neo was the cheapest one, so we went with that. Still a pricey thing, however, probably one of the most valuable things on my helmet in terms of usefulness. So if you don't want to invest in a helmet mic and adapter, you can also use this comm system to record your own audio, even if you're just out on your own. So it is, if you're looking at either investing in a mic adapter or putting the money towards a Cardo, I would go for a Cardo because yes, the audio isn't as crisp, but it again does its job. I used it for ages to get to monetization level, and you also have the added bonus of it being a Cardo, and you can listen to music and you can take calls and everything like that. So it's a more valuable use of money, I reckon. Now, when you're recording group intercoms, all of the channels get combined into one audio file, and this has its pros and cons. So it makes it really easy to edit because again, it's just one thing. So yes, you would need to sync it up with your camera, but once it's done, you just chop it up as normal and it's absolutely fine. You don't need to worry about different people's voices. But on the downside, you can't single out one person's voice. So if it does get a bit muddled, you might not be able to hear what people are saying because multiple people are talking at once. But then that's kind of the general chaos of group riding anyway. Now, personally, for the audio on the group videos, I do a mix. So this is where I like to make things complicated for myself. And it's time consuming, but I do think it's worth it because my audio, if you notice in duo videos, my audio is clearer.
What a day.
Don't fucking start that shit. Honestly.
It has been a day, hasn't it?
Tell me about it.
Your plat looks very nice.
Thanks.
Because I'm using the Purple Panda mic for my audio. It's already connected to my camera, so I might as well use it. It's crisper, and I think that gives the person, if they've never watched a video before and they don't know what our voices sound like, usually the clearer person is the person closest to you. So you will establish that with the person you're watching. The POV is generally mine, so me having the clearer voice sort of grounds the viewer, and then anyone else, you can tell they're on different bikes, if that makes sense. So when it comes to editing a duo video, I have my audio from the DJI camera with just my voice because it's from my helmet, and then the audio from the Cardo intercom, and I'll stitch these together in Premiere Pro so that I'm using the DJI audio most of the time because it's got a better balance of engine noise and wind noise, and the audio from the Cardo intercom when it's needed. So really you only hear the Cardo intercom when someone on the intercom is talking, apart from when it's me, because I mute those parts so you don't get a double voice. There might be some instances in videos where I'm talking at the same time as Katie and you can hear my voice sounds different because I don't want to have to like splice the two continuously over milliseconds. I just take the Cardo chunk and accept the fact that the voice will sound a little bit lower quality.
Downshift movements. So just shift and then what? Right, remember,
Right, what
speed
was she
bump.
remember? Round the speed bump.
Hey! We're so original with where we go. It's insane. How do we do it?
That being said, the Cardo is still really good quality for if you take into account the fact that you're on a moving vehicle with quite a loud engine and a lot of wind noise. It's almost too good at noise cancellation. So one thing I recommend if you are using the intercom recording is reduce the noise cancellation in the Cardo app. It's in your settings. It's almost too good for videos as it entirely cuts out engine and wind noise, so you end up with a very quiet stream and then suddenly someone's voice and then it goes back to complete silence. So play around with those settings until you're happy. If you're on a quiet bike and you're not going very quickly, you probably won't have to reduce the noise cancellation much. Both mine and Katie's bikes are rather loud, and if we're going down a dual carriageway, the Cardo was struggling. We weren't being fair on it. So that is basically it in terms of recording the content. Then it's just a case of importing it onto my laptop to edit, and the 360 videos need exporting first in the GoPro app to go from 360 files to standard MP4. It's at that stage you sort of tell it what you want it to focus on. So I will turn the camera to face me, and let's say we're stopped, then I would move it and give it those points to focus on as well. And once I'm happy, I export the entire 8-minute or so clip and repeat for all of the GoPro footage I want to use. That is the one downside of 360 footage, is because it gets exported into 8-minute chunks, you end up doing that quite a lot. Again, my laptop will take quite a while to export it, so it's just something I'll run in the background whilst I'm working on my laptop. But those 8-minute chunks are completely seamless, so you don't tell, there's no gap, you don't need to resync your audio. If you've exported them in 8 minutes and you stack them one by one in your editing software, you don't need to do any audio resyncing, it's all there for you. Once in your Premiere Pro or whatever editing software you want to use, it's just a case of syncing the GoPro footage so that it's in line with the DJI and then chopping it up as normal. My editing's pretty basic. I just chop out dead space and add the occasional bit of text. And there we go. That was a whirlwind, but that is everything I can think of to talk about with this gathering footage aspect. Obviously, I've not gone into too much detail about editing because A, that depends on the software you use. B, I'm not a great expert at Premiere Pro as it is. I'm learning every day. I would stick with one helmet cam for now, get used to that before chucking in a second one, because if I did all this at the start, I'd get so overwhelmed. I wouldn't know what I was doing. So yeah, just stick with one camera to start with, and then when you want to include your 360 or rider facing footage, you can do, and maybe follow exactly what I've done. I don't mind. Copy that. It seems to work for me. I hope you've enjoyed whatever footage I've been playing over this voice note. I hope that's been helpful too. And thanks for requesting. If you have any other ideas or video requests you would like to make, pop them in the comments below. I read them. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye!